Welcome to this EvalIndigenous Voice project. I'm going to interview you on your experiences, achievements, and challenges in the evaluation sector in your country, and then obtain your views on the directions that evaluation is taking, your future, and that of other young evaluators in Africa. My name is John Njovu. I'm the coordinator for the EvalIndigenous Voice project. What is your name?
My name is Solomon Gitau. I'm a young evaluator, the leader of the young evaluator at the Monitoring and Evaluation Profession Association of Kenya.
Are you working for any other organization?
I do work for Kirigasa Solution Limited.
Briefly share your experience doing evaluation, who requested it, why it was carried out, who was involved, how was it done, and who was it for?
I can generally say that when it comes to evaluation, how we do undertake evaluation, it's usually guided by the terms of reference, which is an interaction between the client or the owner of the project, the financier of the project, and now the consultant team, led by the project manager. So it's basically say it is guided by the terms of reference.
When was an evaluation done really well, and what worked for local people?
An evaluation, when it was done well, that I felt this one has got an impact to the people. And it's come to a road project evaluation that was done back in 2009, it was repeated in 2016, and it was done again in 2022. I was part of the 2016 and 2022 team, where we did do an evaluation of the status of our road project in the country. And then I found that the data that we got, it was housed by the road agency in charge of the road network in the country. That data was being used from the local people in the village through the ward representative, the area chief, the member of the National Assembly, and all the government agency in charge of developing and maintaining a road network. They are using the same data from the same database to guide our development. So they know where to do a maintenance, they know where to do an upgrade. That is the kind of the best evaluation that I have done. It also involved all the technology, the available technology we are deployed, and all the experts that were available. So I find that was the most. That was now an infrastructure evaluation.
Okay. Have good evaluation practices been documented by evaluators or local groups in writing or video or in pictures?
No.
What do you find as most challenging as an individual and an indigenous evaluators at the moment?
The main challenge I find myself in is when it comes to the skills. One of my major challenges is the skills in terms of which tool, which technology, and who are the experts to be in charge, to be involved in a project. Most of the time is where you find that everyone would wish to be involved in a project in the sense to get the token coming out of the project. That is the financial aspect. Maybe you are not qualified. You can say it's a young field that is coming up and it's taking shape. Everyone wants to be involved, but now not based on their energy or their interest in that, but to get the token, especially when it's come to field work.
Everybody is interested on getting money, but not giving the best of themselves or having the skills to do an evaluation. What are your expectations of EvalIndigenous in the development and practice of M&E?
I think my expectation will be a bit specific when it's come to evaluation. I would tie it to the evaluation, the final evaluation report. So one of the things we need to have a documentation, a guideline on how to conduct this evaluation. Who are the people to be involved? What are their qualification and experience? And then what are their responsibility? I think if we tie this one to indigenous evaluation, we'll try and be able to come out with a concrete report In where, if you ask any participant in that project, whether it was the people in charge or where you collected the data, the respondent, who are these respondents? Maybe we can capture their name without having any other sensitive information. And also the project read, that is the project officers, they also need to be documented with their responsibility, so that in future, when I want to engage myself into another project, I don't need even to talk much about what have you done before. I just need to get the report of what was done and be able to present the authority of the client of the previous project. I think that will be my best expectation. And now we should be able to give in detail of that what we need in terms of the technology we also need, because now technology is advancing. We also need to specify which are the current technology that we can use to make our data more presentable, that we can be able to capture the trend and pattern maybe in a certain area. Because in whatever we do, in whichever data we collect, it is always spread within a geographical area. And this will help us to realize some more insight into the data.
So you want EvalIndigenous to connect with your VOPE in Kenya or with Africa about your concerns?
Very much.
Okay.
And maybe conduct a simple research, which is kind of a survey on what even specifically the young evaluators, what is it? You know, a young evaluator, you see, if you consider the age group for the elder people, you'll find them, for them, they are trying to shift. Maybe someone is in the medical field, they are trying to shift to capture the M&E aspect of the medical field. But now we have the young evaluators who are taking evaluation as their profession. So how do we now nurture these young people? So we need to do a research to see how we can get around those two.
Any message to commissioners of evaluation and VOPEs in Africa?
My message to commissioners and leaders of VOPE and the financiers, the people who offer grants, I would wish to recommend if they can set aside simple grants to young evaluators to be able to conduct simple research on how evaluation is being done in different parts of Africa. Maybe we can consider West Africa, East Africa, South Africa, Central Africa, and North Africa. We can be able to conduct about 5 evaluation that will be able to give us the perception, how do the people adopt the technology, the skills, the people involved, the position of young evaluators into evaluation practices. So how is it done? If you can have about 5 grants, it would be a nice thing that it will be able to give us an insight into the situation of evaluation in Africa.
Do you have any message to governments, development donors, and other funders who are now helping in building national M&E capacity in Africa?
My message would be to accept evaluation as an emerging area. That will help us to make insight into our project program progress before we get into trouble. So I would recommend that the government agency, they introduce evaluation as part of their practices within their department. And also to the financiers, other leaders, they will help to do the capacity development of this government department so that they can be able to take and consume the practices of evaluation.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about, maybe which hasn't been covered in my questionnaire?
I think in terms of evaluation in Africa, and specifically where I am, I can say we are missing quite a lot from the energy of young people. Remember, it is the older people who are guiding most of this evaluation, who comes from a certain profession, and now they are taking step into doing evaluation into that practice. Now we have young emerging evaluators, whom their profession, they recognize it as M&E, monitoring evaluation. So the position to tap the energy, the expertise in terms of skills and technology of these young people, we are missing. Because when you tend to fight mostly in Africa, it is either an evaluation, it is given to a VOPE. The grant is given to VOPE to conduct evaluation. Who are the leaders of the VOPE? It is these elder people who are in charge, who are the secretary, the chair, and a mere participant in the project.
In the VOPEs?
So I can say in VOPEs, we have the read evaluators being the old people. I find it that we need to have a position for the young evaluators. So when it's come to this project, we are taken by read by the elder people who have come from the different professions to come and participate in the evaluation. So you find that young people are left to be just data collector and maybe doing some kind of simple analysis. So if you come to that young person, cannot be able to guide you from how you do the business development aspect of the evaluation project. That is doing the how do you develop the proposals up to the time you submit the final draft, even how to undertake the just simple financial documentation of a project. I feel that is a major gap. Unfortunately, some of the young evaluator or the other members of an evaluation team might not have their say well recorded in the evaluation process. So that is a big weakness. So the challenge is where we have maybe you have the project team leader, and then maybe we might have someone in charge of database, we might have someone in charge of data collection. So it usually creates like kind of a disconnect that it is always the project manager who is vocal in how you do things. Now, the main challenge that comes with that is that what if the project manager is not experienced in indigenous evaluation, is experienced in infrastructure evaluation? You see there is always kind of a disconnect. So even if you're a young person in that project, you have an experience in indigenous evaluation, and the project manager is conversant with the environmental or infrastructure evaluation or institution evaluation, that is maybe in the policy. So your say might not be captured in that. And that now is bringing another broad challenge where if maybe I'm asked by another person, now I present a project that we did, I was part of the project. Now, if I'm asked, why did you do this? Maybe something wrong has been noted. Why did you do this? It's always us who have a problem of explaining why, how did you do that? Because we are always coerced to do in that way. And then the reports of the evaluation project do not record what was your possession or what was your responsibility in that. So evaluation project maybe should capture the individual responsibility for the participants so that we can be able sometimes to divide. And maybe it can also capture something like what would have been your recommendation to achieve the best outcome of this project. So that is always left as a gap. And young evaluators, you always find yourself in trouble explaining later in future, why did you have to allow that to be done when you are there?
Okay. Thank you very much.